Hi, everyone. Welcome to the special edition of Shagalinko TV. It's Wednesday, the first day of December 2021. So let me start by saying Happy New Month, just as Nigerians we do it. I think Nigerians have this thing about celebrating virtually everything. So we do Happy New Month, we do Happy New Year, we do Happy New Week. Sometimes we even do Happy New Day. Okay, so here we are, and is 1st of December. If you all notice, we've been doing special editions for a couple of weeks now. So Chagalinko has been consistent, virtually like every two days and three days, and this is how it will continue till maybe end of December, because there are so many special international World This, World That Day, and all of that. So today is World AIDS Day. And also, it's been the 16 days of activism, and we've been on it as well. So, why today's edition is special is because we'll be looking at Civil Society Accountability Forum, overviews, reviews, and way forward. And then we'll touch a little on 16 days of activism, a lot of issues surrounding violence, gender-based violence, domestic violence, and all of that. And we'll also be touching a little on the World AIDS Day, the celebration, how it came about, what people need to do, how is the fight going on, and all of that. You also know that you can be part of the program. We're streaming live in 3 destinations: Shagalinko TV Facebook page, Shagalinko TV YouTube page, and also on my personal Facebook page, Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. You can drop your comments, questions, opinions, views for our guests in the comment section, and we'll read it. She will also respond to as many as we can. Do also let us know where you're watching us from right now if you're watching, and drop your comments and participate. You can also share the video as you watch so that your friends, families, and others can join. Once again, Happy New Month, and it's the World AIDS Day. I have with me here Ize Adava. She's a public health advocate and also the chairperson of the peer review forum, the conveners of the civil society, or let me say CSO Accountability Forum. And this year's one is the 7th edition and is working stronger. So we'll be looking at all of that, what way forward, what lessons learned, and all of that. Anyway, let me bring her in, and then I'll also ask her to say a few more things that we missed out. Hi, Ize.
Hi, how are you? Good
I'm fine.
evening.
Good evening. Yeah,
Good
good to see
evening.
you.
Thank you.
I first must thank you. You're a very busy person. Every time we have guests on the show, I see the sacrifice they make. I remember one time I was going to interview a lady from Canada, and she had to be awake in the morning or in the night because our morning is their night and all of that. And I really thank all my guests who find time to just make that sacrifice to join us. Thank you so much, Izzy.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So let's start with first things first. I know you're a public health advocate and also a chairperson, which we'll talk about later. But what else do you want us to know about Ize Adava?
Okay, so there's a whole lot, so I don't even get into it. I summarize it in a very short sentence to say that I am all things to all people at all times, within reason, nothing criminal, law abiding. But yes, so as much as I function in public health as an advocate, I also do do research in a differently, I mean, an entirely different field. So far from public health, well, we're saving the world all the same. Um, I am an environmental and soil scientist. So I am researching carbon sequestration and how we can, it's a whole lot of things on that side. But for the purpose of today and this platform, yes, I will stick with being a public health advocate. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the modesty, but we'll still dig in as the program progresses.
Don't
Okay.
dig. Stay with public health.
Okay. Just hope our viewers will not ask very cracky questions and all of that. But yes, we already got one message here from Dorothy. She says she's watching us live from Mina. Thank you so
Yay.
much, darling Dorothy, for joining. And for everyone joining as well, do drop your messages. We're looking at a whole lot, three things in one. We're looking at CSOs Accountability Forum that just held a couple of weeks back, the seventh edition. We're also looking at 16 Days of Activism, and then we'll finally also look at World AIDS Day. So, Ize, let's also look at what I know this is the seventh year for the Accountability Forum. How has it been? How has the journey been? Let me even start by you being the chairperson of such a huge program. How was the crazy preparations like?
Okay, so I think one of the first thing I'm going to do, because it originated from me, is the error in timing. It's actually the sixth year, but because of my welcome notes, where I don't know what I was thinking when I put seventh. The whole everyone has run with seventh during an internal team meeting with the peer review, and people were asking. I mean, my team members were asking me like, exactly what were you thinking, you know? So I think it's an opportunity to put it out there that this is the sixth and not the seventh. I take responsibility for that error. That said, it's really very tedious putting this together, and over the years it has grown. I wasn't always a chairperson. I was a floor team member for a bit, and unanimously elected chairperson for about 3 or 4 accountability forum, and running. So it's quite challenging because you have to think about the most one of the biggest challenges is finance, funding to support every aspect of the organization. And we need the space, we need the people, we need so many things to do. So funding has always been an issue, but we've also been able to secure. We've also had partners over the years who have pitched in left, right, and center. We've had some consistent partners in all the years of Accountability Forum's existence. We have PEPFAR, US Presidential. Okay, so this is a very long, multi one. US President, the United States President's Emergency Response on AIDS, PEPFAR. I'm missing something, but I'll be forgiven. So PEPFAR has been a long-standing partner. AVAC has been a long-standing partner, and that's a global HIV vaccine and advocacy platform as well. Let's see, we've had AHF, AIDS Health Healthcare Foundation as partners. Education as Vaccine have been partners in the pre-conference capacities. Um, I think in this year we had Voice Netherlands, who also partnered with us, and so many other partners as well. But I mean, this is not an exhaustive list. It's just some of the names that come to mind at this moment. But funding has always, like with everything, been a big thing. So yeah, it slows us down, especially when we have to plan while we are looking for money, or when it's time to implement and the money is just not there yet. It can be a big headache. That apart, having a great team, having a great secretariat that runs with the vision is big help. It doesn't make it makes the stress a little comfortable, if I can say that. But having a great team has also helped while we navigate all those waters that we have to in organizing the accountability forum. Thank you. I hope I answered all the questions.
Yeah, yeah. Along the way, we'll also still talk about the accountability forum, but we need to dabble into different things and still come back because the CSO Accountability Forum is also a potpourri of different issues, fights against malaria, TB, HIV/AIDS, and all of that. And I particularly like when I interviewed Moses Opara and Albano. I told them I particularly liked the pre-conferences, because it sort of just prepared all the sections, all the factions, all the areas. So you had the pre-conference for women, you had the pre-conference for adolescent and young persons, you had pre-conference for the KPs. And for me, that was really thoughtful and was like putting bits and pieces together in preparation for the cumulative aspect. Now, tell me why they were pre-conferences, because sometimes when you even go for programs or conferences, they really don't see that need for the pre-conferences. They look at it from the angle of extra fundings or extra money of maybe paying extra accommodation for days, and that includes feeding and all of that. But it was a laudable idea to have had that because it prepared all the sections. So what brought about that?
Thank you very much. So, having pre-conferences at Civil Society Accountability Forum, I think we started with pre-conferences about 2 or 3 years ago, and it's been very, very useful because the main conference is usually packed. So there are things that need to be addressed across other areas, which would most likely be missed out in the main conference program. Hence, the need to have a pre-conference or a separate but integral program where those issues can be unpacked ahead of moving into the conference. One of the big aims of Civil Society Accountability Forum has been to be a flagship platform, especially around the issues of the three big diseases: ATM, AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Now, what the Accountability Forum is basically is a platform. It provides a platform for every actor in the sector to come and for lack of a better word, and play. Okay, so with the various groups of communities that you mentioned, we've had pre-conferences for women, for key populations, for adolescents and young persons, for aging with HIV. And I think once or twice we've tried to organize pre-conferences with people who live with disabilities as well, but that hasn't gone through. So the idea is so that all the voices can be collated, because again, it's very vital. The clarion call of HIV, one of the global goals is leaving no one behind. So we don't want to leave anyone behind. We want to cover all the areas as much as possible with regards to HIV. And so the pre-conferences are necessary for the conversations to happen. There's a need for some deep conversations. It's usually hopefully a no holds barred period where the various groups, the various communities bring topical and contextual issues to the table. Civil Society Accountability Forum provides a platform for communities to interact with other stakeholders, with donors, partners, funders, and implementing partners and funders, as well as within ourselves as civil society, to hold each other accountable and see how the national response can be can be better supported as we move towards the goals, because the goals are global, signed at national levels, for us to eliminate AIDS. The current global goal that we are working towards is ending AIDS by 2030. So it's important that we look at all the pieces of the work to find if we are on course. We have the 95-95 target. 95-95-95 is 3. It used to be 90-90-90, and it's now 95-95-95 unit targets. That we are all aspiring to. 95% of people living with HIV being on treatment, 35% of people knowing their HIV status, So it's important that we have a space where we can sit down and look at the efforts we've made in the outgoing year to say, how has this moved us closer to goals and commitments made for and by the national response? What are the issues coming from the grassroots? What are the issues coming from the communities that need to be what's the word now, that needs to be
Maybe
blown up,
amplified.
to be amplified? Thank you. To be amplified to the right authorities, because one of the things we've enjoyed so far is the goodwill of the of partners. We have, every time we invite our partners, they show up. You know, too many names to mention, but they show up. The last one, you were there. The acting coordinator for PEPFAR was at the meetings throughout. So what more do you want? That's one of the biggest investors in the HIV response in Nigeria. The CCM is the Global Fund CCM country coordinating mechanism. Is the secretariat is fully was fully on ground, at the accountability forum, and they have always been PEPFAR, Global CCM, and so many more. They've always been constant faces. So it gives an opportunity to bring issues up at the state levels, at the communities when you have problems with your projects and all of that. Attending the accountability forum puts you in the same space with the people who give you money. So you can tell them, okay, these ones that you people prescribe from the office, it's not working for us. This is what we think. You can profile solutions. It's a space for interactions among stakeholders to better implement or efforts towards achieving better HIV outcomes. So basically, that's what it provides.
Yeah, thank you so much. So in case you just joined us, this is the special edition. It's a Wednesday and the 1st of December. And so we're saying Happy New Month. And then we also be doing this because it's a special edition for World AIDS Day. And I have here our guest, Ize Adava, and she'll be talking more about so many things concerning all of what we're discussing. If you have questions for her, you have comments or opinions, just drop them at our comment session and we'll read all of them out. But first of all, let me say thanks to Lady Comfort Amos Mukolo, all the way from Gombe. She says, awesome. Thanks for watching all the way from Gombe. So if you're also watching us right now, please do tell us where you're watching us from. Remember, on our comment section, you have to also approve to be allowed to drop your comments. You need to give your permission to be allowed to drop your comments. And if you don't give permission, your comments won't come on the screen. So please drop your comments and let us know where you're watching from. We're doing 3 things in a row. We're looking at the CSO Accountability Forum, lessons learned, reviews, and overviews, and way forward. And we're also looking at the World AIDS Day, which is today. It's been celebrated every 1st of December. And then we're also looking at 16 Days of Activism. I'll bring this back and let's talk a little about World AIDS Day because it's about the current thing happening right now. I'd like to seek our thoughts on that, and then we'll come back and talk about 16 Days of Activism. So yes, every 1st of December, it's celebrated worldwide. How has the fight been?
Okay, so thank you again. World AIDS Day is a day set aside to commemorate, to show solidarity, to people living with HIV and AIDS. Okay, people living with HIV. Language is important. So you hear me say PLHIV most of the time, and to also celebrate the advances in the fight against this epidemic. World AIDS Day was instituted in 1988, if I remember correctly, and it was one of the first global public health day international observance, if memory serves me right. And every year since then, World AIDS Day has been commemorated. There are themes for each celebration. These themes are aimed at highlighting pressing issues in the global HIV response. This year's theme is, I think, ending. Let's see. How did I forget that? This year's theme is, I think, ending the fight or something, ending the stigma. I'll have to find that out immediately and get back to you. It's a shame that I can't remember it. End inequalities and stop the pandemic, something around that. I would remember the right thing and send to you. But the aim of this basically is to make sure that people who are not accessing HIV services as they should, people who are being left behind currently in the response, there's a need to catch up to catch up with them. There's a need to bring them into the response. Globally, there are about 35 million or 38 million people living with HIV, and in Nigeria, I think it's about 1.9 million people. I, I'll be crucified if I'm getting my figures wrong, because I should not get them wrong, you know. And so it's a day that commemorates the landscape, what's gone right, what's not gone as well as it should, what should be done, and also it's a day of solidarity, whether with advocates, active people, be it in the biomedicals of HIV, or in the policy aspects of HIV, or in the services cascade of HIV. It is a day, it is a unifying day. It's also a day where we remember friends, comrades, people who we have lost to the pandemic before now. And even sadly, even in these days, people still die of HIV, of AIDS, not HIV. People still die of AIDS in these times, So it's important. It's an important day in the HIV landscape globally. It's an important observance. And it's a day where we salute the courage of people who live with it. It's a day where we also salute the dedication of everybody who is working to make sure that we have answers, we have solutions, we have things that take us from where we are in the response to where we want to be. So this year it is to end the inequalities, so that we can stop this pandemic. It has been one of the longest standing epidemic in time. It's been since the 80s. Proper diagnosis of HIV was, like, I think, around 84 or thereabout. But there were things. I mean, it started blooming from the beginning of the 80s, 1980 and thereabouts. And it still is an issue. Is a problem. That it is still an issue is a problem. And as advocates, one of the things we look at, one of the things that make us um, be advocates in this time, in this season of the pandemic, of HIV, is you count everything that is not, every opportunity missed to get it right in the HIV response is a life lost. That's the truth. Every opportunity missed to get things right in the HIV response is a life loss. And the ramifications of the implications of HIV in people's lives differ across landscape. In the global south, it is much more dire. In the global north, well, there are still places where it's also a very big dilemma as well. But we count the cost of HIV in lives lost. Oh, and life saved as well.
Okay, so there are questions here. If you can see it, kindly read it out and then you could respond.
Okay, I think
It's
this is
from
from Dorothy. Sorry, I don't want to murder every other name there. I have concerns over the targets that are given for HIV interventions, especially where key population interventions are concerned. Okay, so for people who may not know, key affected populations, but we call it key populations, especially where key population interventions are concerned. Am I the only one finding these figures unrealistic? Well, it may not just be only you, and I wish I knew the exact. I wish I knew some examples of the figures you're talking about. But one of the ways this can, I believe, can be addressed is the community engaging. You engage in enabling spaces with the funders, with the donors, with the partners. The partners have been, and I'm not speaking for partners, but the partners have been quite amenable to interactions with communities. And okay, I think the question came back on again. So it's also subject to individual differences. Also remember that these targets are not pulled out of the air. Most of it are scientific. The arriving at them as it can is quite scientific. So we have to also look at the basis for which the targets were set. And depending on where it is being implemented, some of these targets are met and even surpassed. Okay, so unfortunately, we don't have a specific target that we are talking about or working with right now, but I hope that responds to you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So yes, we'll still keep on going. Let's touch a little on the 16 days of activism. Um, I just want to ask a few questions surrounding why people still stay in violent relationships, why people still um, are not able to talk about all of that. Because no matter how there is advocacy, no matter how um, organizations or even government agencies come up or policies are even made, it still takes the victims or people to start speaking up to do all of that. We've had complaints from even bodies like RAPA and others that when they get to women who are going through abusive relationships, they agree to maybe take their husbands to the police station, but they come back the next day, and such women are like, "We never complained anything like this happened," and then you start wondering, and then you see women get beaten up till death, and then you hear issues like "Had I know" and all of that. So, what do you think could be responsible? Is it that the stigma, or people don't just like, in Nigeria and Africa, we are too particular about things, and they say, that one that couldn't keep her marriage, or this one that couldn't keep his marriage. So people would rather say less, and then some will say they are staying because of their children. You hear women who still stay back in abusive relationship, and that if I come out, the man go marry another man, another woman, and then go suffer my children. And then she gets to that point where she may not even be alive to protect the children in quotes. What do you think about that?
Okay, so the issue of violence against women, violence against females, generally is broad. It cannot be summarized in one sentence, in one paragraph. There are various dynamics. There are various dynamics that come to play in the issue of violence against women. Some of which you have mentioned. Societal expectation, societal pressure has been the bane of so many women's existence in relationships, especially in abusive relationships. You know, it's a lot. It's also a lot psychological, and I don't think I'm most suited to psychoanalyze victims, because as our faces are different, so our beliefs, so is our psychology. You know, a lot of it's so many things. I will do injustice trying to um box the ramifications of the realities of gender-based violence in a few words. But and I also try to make sure that we do not leave men who also suffer violence in relationships, because one of the things we've done so far, especially because we have data that supports it, when we talk about violence or gender-based violence, our default thinking is women, girls. It is the truth. Women are disproportionately affected by this unfortunate phenomenon, but there are men too who also experience gender-based violence, and most a number of the reasons you have mentioned so far. Stockholm syndrome is one where somebody is cruel to you, but for some reason, you just stay stuck. You think it's a lot of factors gets, pushes a woman to that point where their own will is broken. Gender-based violence doesn't just start one day with a slap. It's a process, it's a road. People ignore the warning signs, people ignore the deal breakers. People rationalize, people people try
To make excuses
to make
for their partners
excuses.
why they
Yes,
did what they did.
and there's one of the very foolish ones. This one is a very foolish one. I will change him or her. How dare you? How dare you want to change a human being? Have you changed yourself? How dare you? You know? And it's so unfortunate. When you hear people in these situations and you're talking to them and you say, "I will change, I will, yeah, he will change after when we get married, he will change."
With love, she will come over.
Love is the least in the items of a relationship. Love is the least. After the initial butterfly stage, every other thing is addition. Then life happens. Love does not pay bills. When you are getting married, it's not love that we put food on the table for the guests. It's not love that we pay for hall. When you get married, it's not love that we pay baba landlord. It's not love that we buy fuel in generator. It's not love that we put food in the pantry. So love is important, but it's not the most important. There's so many other um commonsensical things that you need to put in perspective. Yes, love makes it sweet. Love makes it acceptable. Love makes it palatable. Whatever else you want to say. You see those romance, those things Mills and Boom may have taught us, or what's it called? Romantic movies may have taught.
Hint
That is where,
magazine.
that is where hints and hearts is what it is. Hints and hearts. I don't know if those things are still in publication or what people read these days. That is where it is. After then is real life, and we have deviated from the matter. But the desire to have the realities that you get from some of these sources make people maybe turn the blind eye on things that should be deal breakers for them in relationships, and for others it goes way deeper. It goes way deeper. And the thing is, more often than not, you can't even save a victim if they are not ready to be saved. I have been in a situation where a woman was being beaten. and I could hear it, you know. And I stood up and breached everything, went to the house. I mean, their front door was closed and I was knocking. It wasn't my business, so to speak. I mean, they closed their door, they are doing their thing behind closed door. But you know, when you're here, it was one of the very first times I was having a hands-on reality of what people could, I mean, what beating someone and beating an adult could feel like. So I was ready to say, take on your size if you are man enough. But I mean, they wouldn't I couldn't gain entrance and all of that. But that's not even the end, the premise of the story. What happened was, I think much later, I saw this woman being all lovey-dovey with the same person that was pommeling her, and I couldn't fathom it. This lady went on to get married to this man and have kids with this man, and of course the beating wasn't one of. But what do you do when people are not ready to be saved? And in places, in situations where people are ready to be saved, there have been so many helplines in recent times. Unfortunately, I don't have the details on hand. I know that a lot of organizations, especially in recent years, we saw a spike in sexual and gender-based violence during the COVID lockdown.
Yeah, true.
You see, everything affects everyone, but females are usually, generally, most disproportionately affected in, whether you're talking about poverty. I remember Professor Mohammed Gramin say something that he said something that I has stayed with me ever since. He said the face of poverty is that of a woman. I remember at one or two accountability forums ago, I said, when I was giving my opening speech, I told people, I said, the face of HIV is that of a woman. Go and look at the statistics. It is adolescent girls, young women, they are the ones suffering. I mean, suffering the what's it called now? I don't know what the English is. I don't know what's happening this evening, but
The outcome.
you know, it's women are disproportionately affected. Over the COVID lockdowns, women suffered a lot more of sexual and gender-based violence.
No.
Rape was on the rise. Unwanted pregnancies was on the rise, and most of the unwanted pregnancies were occasioned by these rapes that happened.
And sex for favors.
Yeah, so yes, I think all that is detailed in my welcome speech for the just concluded accountability forum, and then the result of the UNH survey is coming out soon, you know, and so many other ways that the community is generating this data these days, you know, to see what is happening, because it's not enough that we are talking about it and storifying it. We have to be able to, our claims have to be verifiable. We need the data, and that's why there's a phenomenon that has been in the landscape for about a year or two now in Nigeria, called the community-led monitoring. What the community-led monitoring does is it empowers the community to generate data around, in this case, the services they are taking, the HIV services they uptake. But another thing the community-led monitoring can do for organizations and members of the community is, when you identify an issue, you design the tools that help you probe the issues so that we can have more data. Now we're having a data that that is coming from the UNIT's perspective. You know, what is the community saying? What does gender-based violence look like among PLHIV, for instance? What does gender-based violence look like among sexual and gender-based violence look like among the various communities of PLHIVs, the general populations, women, adolescent girls and young women? Yes, it's deliberate, separating women, adolescent girls, and young women, because the needs are different. The KPs have about 6 or so typologies of KPs, and which other group on my list? I think PWID. I mean, people who live with disabilities as well. So there are various strata, but in recent time we've also been thinking of how best to mainstream the needs of people who live with disabilities in HIV as relates to HIV. That's the one aspect that I don't think we have really shown a lot of light to or on. I know there are efforts here and there. So communities in recent times are being supported, being groomed, around community-led monitoring, where you can tell your own story from your own perspective. You can generate your own data, from your own perspective. So you cannot accuse what's it called? You cannot accuse a partner of giving you unrealistic data, of cooking up data and comfort. I'm saying this lightly, really, but it just it just brings up that need, that power. So I know you asked me about gender-based violence, what makes people stay in abusive relationships, but while we can individualize the response to that, again, there are so many factors that lead to anybody staying in an abusive relationship, and most of it is socioeconomic, and of course there's a lot of psychology to go there. It's not a one cap fits all, so what it is when you find yourself in a situation of violence in any relationship, you need to seek help. And I really, really wish that I had the good sense to have gotten helplines, which could have been part of the runners on the screen right now, where people who need help can actually go to. Because first and foremost, it's your life first. Once that is happening in survival mode, I've heard some I'm supposed to be
horrible.
I'm supposed to be dispassionate, but I've heard some very foolish people telling you that if he beats me, it's because he loves me.
True.
And I'm like,
Or that women are like kids, you have to beat them. I was discussing with a man sometime and he said, "Oh boy, women are like children now. So if you don't beat them, you won't put senses into their head." And I'm like, what? In 2021, it's not just modern.
who raised
Terrible.
these people? Who raised them? Even if you were raised wrong, in my in my local dialect, we say that a person can be born and you rebirth yourself. So when I hear people staying in instances of intimate partner violence, intimate partner abuse, I'm like, there's better, there's more to life than this. Even though the people in the situation, as at the time they are there, they really don't see from the lenses which we see. I don't know if you've had reasons to counsel, be around a victim. You wonder if we are breathing the same air, or if there's a, hey God, I really need to be I really need to, because it's really, really annoying. But you wonder
Yeah.
what are you thinking? How do you think this is good for you? And it's not just physical violence. One of the things that can break spirit is the abusive one. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm seeing some numbers.
Yeah. From
Yes,
Dorothy, she says, we
yes.
provide psychosocial support for GBV cases. I hope it's okay to share our
It
number.
is
Of course,
okay
yes.
if we have other people who do. The more, the
Hmm.
merrier. Put the numbers out. Anybody who is in a situation of gender-based, sexual and gender-based violence, please reach out for help. Don't skip it. Don't close it. Don't cover it. Don't. Hey, there's this one that they will say, but they should cover the shame. Don't. You.
Yes,
It's
it's within the family. Don't say it
it's.
out. A lot of Christian people will tell you, my pastor, what will my pastor say? What will our church members say? A lady once, we were trying to rescue. When we came back the next day, she said, well, her pastor has resolved it. So that it will be somehow, how can she, a prominent woman in the church, then people will hear tomorrow that a whole deaconess has left her husband. And I'm like, Seriously?
Yeah, so you see, that's why I stated a couple of times. It's a whole lot of factors. It's a combination of factors. So it's not a one cap fits all. More often than not, you have to deal with this on a case by case basis. One of the running themes is if you're in a situation of violence, seek help. Seek help,
Mm.
speak out, reach out for help. And some of the places we go to seek for this help are not helpful at all. I have
They
nothing.
add more.
Yes, I have nothing against our religious establishments, but um, when you're going to your religious leader, it's important to understand this person's outlook on life because it will influence what they will say to you. You know, there are a number of religious leaders these days who speak out against any form of gender-based violence and all of that, but more often than not, when you talk to victims and you look at where they are coming from, just like the example you gave, religion and religious establishments have become a an enabling environment, so to speak. And I do not say this to denigrate religion or religious establishments, but we need to look at issues and we need to begin to identify, I mean, to speak to them as they should be. I know they will throw so many scriptures at me, how the Lord hates divorce and so many other things. But
Yeah.
murder by spousal or relationship violence, I don't think is the will of God for anybody. You know,
Sure.
and those one who stay, if someone will come to you and I mean, someone will perpetrate violence, beats, and all that, and come and tell you they don't know what happened, they don't know how it happened. A man or a person that has no control over their own self, that is a loose cannon. No? And there's this
Yeah.
test I always give people. I said, look, assume that you're in your house and maybe someone did something wrong and you're raging, you're screaming, you're yelling and something, and they tell you, oh, someone you respect very, I don't know who you respect the most, maybe let's assume it's your pastor you respect the most, for instance, and they tell you, your pastor is outside your door about to come in. 1 minute ago you were raining fire, thunder, and brimstone. The next minute you heard your pastor is coming and you're
You are
like,
quiet and pious.
you open the door and you begin all the Christianese, bless you, pastor, and nobody would believe that was you a
Sure.
moment ago. So
Yeah.
if that can be achieved in any human being for the most part, not everyone, but if someone can be that, then don't you think you can control your temper or whatever else?
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
I think I've taken so much
Yeah.
of time on this, but it's a whole lot of things. It's not
It's a
one
whole
captain
lot.
all.
Yeah. It's
When
a
you find
baggage on
yourself
its
in a
own.
situation of violence, and you want help, we know you need help, but you have to want help. If you don't come to the end of the
Yeah.
rope, we can't help you.
And you can't speak. If you can't speak out as well. Yeah.
So
True.
you need to speak out. You need to
Mm.
find help. There are so many on social media these days. There's so many contacts, just like the one that was put out earlier. Just find help. Don't die in silence. You're not meant
True.
for violence. You're better than violence. Trust me. If the relationship is if the hmm, people will crucify me for this, but relationship is not by force. So
Exactly.
relationship is
True.
not by force. It being a
Okay.
someone, some people will tell you it's better to cry in a jeep and whatever. Go and ask the person
Mm.
crying in a jeep and see. I leave that.
And then someone can just die. The part they don't even understand is how long do you cry in a jeep, and then the next thing they hear, rest in peace. Something that could be avoided.
You
Okay,
know,
we need to wrap up now. But I also remember when you were talking, I just remembered a few instances you made about violence and IDP camps for young girls who sometimes get molested. And I would have asked two questions, but you already addressed one while you were talking, especially for people living with disabilities. You already talked about that. But I also remembered in your opening speech at the forum, you talked about the IDP camps that even with security officials, a lot of very gory statistics you rolled out that day about girls who were teenage girls who were having their first sexual encounter as a result of favor exchange and all of that. I know we don't have time now, but if you could use a minute or two to also address the IDP camp issues and that of rape of young girls, and then we'll come back and wrap up quickly.
Exactly what do you want me to say to this matter? Because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
When especially when adolescent girls and young women are in obvious disadvantaged situations and they are being taken care of. I mean, taken advantage of. You know, it's disheartening. And when it has to be somewhere somewhere or someone who is supposed to take care of you, it's beyond heartbreaking. And so we've had reports across from across various places, especially when you talk about people currently displaced within the country, and talk about internally displaced camps and stuff. We've had several reports of molestations, and the reports on sex for favors is not even. Most of these are not restricted to those settings, but these have been recurring decimals, which should not be. Our children should be protected. Our young girls should be protected. They should be defended. They should not be molested. They should not be raped. Nobody should be raped, boy or girl, man or woman. Rape is not good for anybody. Say no to rape. Say no to molestation. Whether it is a child or an adult, no, it's wrong. It's morally wrong. The job creed does not favor that. But you find this whole thing and people are oppressed into silence. They can't make reports. Even when they make reports, it doesn't go anywhere. It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. I am part of an organization that works on with IDPs. Across the country. It's called CSO, and the stories, and they are not stories that you hear.
Palatable. They are not palatable at all.
You can't sleep when you hear them, and when you see the victims, you want to commit murder. When you see the victims, you want to commit murder. Like, how can anyone abuse this person? Why should anyone abuse this
Do
person? The
that.
helplessness of not being able to prosecute that, So it's a whole lot. It's a broken system. It needs fixing, and so much
Okay.
more. But I think all I can say at this moment is, it's not a place. It's not a place you want anybody to be. And it's heartbreaking that we have statistics about this, whether it's an IDP camp, whether it's from known friend, relative, or whatever. It shouldn't be. It's wrong. And where it happens, please report it. Seek for help. There are organizations too that are providing support these days. Seek for help. Don't hush it. Don't enable it. When you enable the perpetrator is emboldened to continue perpetrating. It is not a matter of sitting down in one place and screaming out like Yaisa. Allow God to Yaisa through you. For the benefit of people who don't, that's Hausa for God. God will judge or God will punish somebody. It's loosely said, but what it is people need to face the consequences of their action, cause and effect. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We need to wrap up now, but I'll give you a minute to what we do here on the show. We give a minute for our guests to say a word of thank you and appreciation to people who have been of support to them, whether organizations, individuals, and all of that. So if you could use 1 minute to say a word of appreciation to whoever and people who have been there for you to support you.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the opportunity. I want to take this time to thank, on behalf of the Peer Review Forum, to thank all the partners of the Civil Society Accountability Forum, PEPFAR, AVAC, QSAID through AVAC. We've had AHF support. We've had Heartland Alliance support some of our pre-conferences. We've had Educational Vaccine support our pre-conferences. We've had The Voice Netherlands support this year. We've had, I think, Clinton Health Access support one of our pre-conferences. So it's not exhaustive, people. If I do not mention your name, it is not in slight of you. I want to thank everybody, all the partners. I want to especially thank our secretariat and the entire PRF team for the time they give to this whole thing. I want to also thank everyone who works on the pre-conferences as well, the youth pre-conference, the KP pre-conference, the brilliant Michael Amalomilo. You should see when he's been one of the organizers. He's the deputy chair of the KP secretariat. Amaka Enemo, Francis Umor, Moses Opara for the youth pre-conference. They have a whole team. Eva is there, education as vaccine. ANIDE, Aaron Sunday of the chair of ANIDE, Lucy of Socian, Obatunde for the AHD. So many. If I knew I was going to do this, I would have written it all out so I can talk to everybody. But if I did not mention your name, it is not to slight you. The awesome PRF secretariat, thank you. You see those guys, midnights. I am a slave driver, and they work with me. They take me as I am. So I'm going to say thank you, Tosin, Florita, David, thank you, Morenike, Olaide, thank you, Ibrahim. Who else? Who am I missing? I'm sorry. But everyone, thank you so much. If I have not mentioned you or sent a thank you, I am thanking you from my heart and in my mind. And to Shagalinko TV, thank you so much for all the time you have dedicated to talking about the Civil Society Accountability Forum this year. We appreciate it. We do not take it for granted that you've done this. Yeah, so I think that's about it. Thank many thanks to everyone.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. And yes, also I want to say thanks to everyone who joined us today. That's the size of the show. I know I will bring Ize back. It's been amazing talking with her. With her, we could just talk on and on and on and on and on and on. And I hope I'll be able to bring her again so we could touch on some other aspects that we couldn't do. I want to thank everyone who joined us. And like I said, today's edition and for the rest of the month of December, we'll be doing a whole lot. So we hope to also be here tomorrow again to talk about a few more issues. And then on Saturday, we'll still be here. In fact, throughout the month, we'll just be doing all of that and still doing the 16 days of activism. But hey, for everyone, we want to say celebrate and also commemorate the World AIDS Day. Remember to get tested. Remember to stay true to science and don't do something that would jeopardize your health. Okay. And from all of us here in Sagalinku, thank you so much. Time really is not on our side. We really need to go. So many things I needed to ask Ize, but thank you so much. Yeah, so we've been talking with Ize Adava. She's a public health advocate and also the chairperson for the Peer Review Forum, that are also the convener for CSOs Accountability Forum. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. Thanks to everyone who also sent in messages. The videos are here, so you can watch after the show in case you missed, and for countries that also follow us that are, many hours away from us. And the videos are here. Do like our social media handles, all our social media handles. It's a Shagalinku TV, whether on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of that is at Shagalinku TV. So keep dropping your comments. The conversation is always ongoing. Drop your comments and our guests will also find time to respond to all of them. And then when we bring her again, sometime maybe in January or February, we'll still review a whole lot more. Time is not on our side. We need to go. Thanks to everyone who joined us. God bless you all and have a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. And remember, once again, Happy New Month. And I pray it be a December to remember. From all of us in Shagalinku, take care of yourselves and bye bye.